Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. Pirate world transforms into a mighty man of all realms traveling through the world of One Piece, becoming a fellow student of Red Dog and Yellow Ape. There is no golden finger system, only a powerful demon fruit ability. Phantom fruit. Transforming everything. Possess all the power of the transformed. From then on, a powerful figure appeared that made everyone tremble. The strongest swordsman. Illusionary Sword Saint, Sword 23, 6 Extinctions Without Me, *** Time and Space. Are the 4 emperors coming? Phantom Poseidon, tsunami flooding the sky, flooding the 4 emperors. Will the world government help the Tianlong people stand out? Phantom Saint, one stick to the heavens, shatter the Holy Land. The battle on the top, above the sky, with 2 days soaring in the sky. Zhang transformed into the Eastern Emperor, with a bright sun above his head and a precious Eastern Emperor clock in his hand, overlooking the naval headquarters below. Red Dog, is your magma even hotter than my sun? Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Phantom Fruit. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Augustus. Are you okay? Stupid. Zhang looked at the guy in front of him with a somewhat bewildered expression in his eyes. Isn't he watching TV at home? Why did the time appear here in the blink of an eye? And who is this guy in front of me? This standard mosaican hairstyle, and this beard, cosplay. It's noisy. Just as I was thinking about it, a strange memory suddenly popped up in my mind. Naval training camp. General Zifa. Augustus, I'm his mother through. And it's also his favorite One Piece world. A brief moment of panic, a strange and indescribable feeling rose in the open heart. One Piece world is his favorite anime. Ox, are you okay? Why don't you speak? Sakazuki, you hit too hard. They are all colleagues, how could they make such a heavy hand? Sakazuki. Zhang followed the sound and looked. A serious-looking young man was looking at him with his arms around his chest. Oh, Sakazuki, I told you a long time ago not to be so serious. Behind Sakazuki, a man with a wrinkled face that looked like a monkey joked. Polysalino, a person with the ability to shine fruit. Sakazuki, a magma fruit expert. These 2 people are one of the strongest 3 in this naval training base. They are all natural demons with fruit abilities, and among them, the most powerful demon fruit. And as the original owner of his body, he is also a demon fruit power person, but he is indeed a superhero demon fruit power person. Superman-type demon fruit, transformed fruit. The fruit of illusion can transform any creature in one's impression, bestow upon oneself, and use their abilities. But due to fruit limitations, the actual strength that can be exerted depends on the actual gap between the 2 sides. Imitators are ultimately just imitators and cannot surpass true powerhouses. Sakazuki hugged his chest with both hands, his face cold and indifferent. Although he is still just a teenager, he already has some of the aura of a future naval marshal. When I was sparring with Oak just now, Oak imitated his lava fruit. However, Ox's strength is too weak. The ultimate strength he unleashed, not to mention 90%, didn't even have his 3rd point. If Sakazuki's lava fruit is even hotter than magma. The ability of the lava fruit transformed by Augustus is like a burning red stone, hitting people. The result of the sparring was being instantly killed. It's not because the fruit has weak ability. Ultimately, the owner of this body is too weak. If it weren't for Lucky eating the devil's fruit, it would have been impossible to enter this elite training camp. What are you doing? A deep voice sounded from behind. Instructor Zifa. The person walking from behind looked like they were in their 30s or 40s, dressed in a purple suit and a righteous cloak, with a purple hedgehog head and a rigid expression. Former General Zifa has now retired and served as the instructor of this elite training camp. Seeing the instructor coming, all the crowd gathered together dispersed in a loud uproar. Ox, come with me. Zhang Yang followed General Zifa in confusion and arrived at an office. Did you fight Sakaski? Zhang Yang didn't know what General Zifa meant when he asked, so he could only nod perfunctorily. Because you were specially hired without passing the assessment, many people will have objections to you. Do you regret it now? No. Zhang Yang shook his head decisively. It's no use regretting for now, and besides, he's not the former Ox now. The transformed fruit cannot function in the hands of Ox. But he had the confidence to let this demonic fruit bloom in his hands with a different light. Very good. General Zifa nodded in satisfaction. Sending Zhang Yang to the elite training camp is the unanimous opinion of the senior management of the Navy. A demon fruit cultivator who can freely imitate the fruit abilities of others, if they can be cultivated to the level of a general. That is a general-level powerhouse who can use any demon fruit ability. How terrifying should an omnipotent fruit power person with no flaws and the ability to freely use all demon fruit abilities be? If it can be cultivated, it can be said that he is the next marshal. Even Polyasalino and Kosaski will become his stepping stones. But now it seems that the situation is not as good as imagined. August's strength is average, and his performance after entering the elite training camp is only sparse and ordinary, with nothing to boast about. Training cannot be called hard work. If it weren't for having high expectations for his demonic fruit abilities. Based on his current performance, he has long been expelled from the Navy elite training camp. Maybe he didn't have this kind of talent before. Watching the back of Zhang Yang leave, Zifa sighed. 1 month, at most give him another month of time. If this situation persists a month later, then he can only be sent out of the Navy elite training camp. Augustus's unconventional recruitment into elite training camps has caused dissatisfaction among many people. If he indulges and favors blindly, his life in the Navy elite training camp will only be worse than it is now. For example, is Sakaski's behavior really just his own decision this time? As a natural demon fruit cultivator, Sakaski has gathered a large number of supporters around him. With his understanding of Sakaski's arrogant personality, unless he is a pirate, Sakaski disdains to take action against someone weaker than himself. That can only indicate that something else has affected him. Only those followers around him can influence him. It's really troublesome. Leaving General Zifa's office, Zhang Yang was walking back. As soon as I arrived, I was hated by a group of future naval elites. If I don't find a way, I will definitely be excluded. The only way seems to be to become stronger. After all, those navies would reject him and be unhappy with him. It's just because I don't agree with his strength, and secondly because he came in through the back door. The Navy is not a place of integrity. There are too many people with privileges. He is not the first, nor will he be the last. He will be excluded, just because of his strength. It's like a group of elites mixed with a useless person who doesn't look good at all. It seems that we need to start from the fruit's ability. The only thing that can make him stronger in the fastest time is the devil fruit. The strength of fruit ability is related to the user's physical and mental state. Why use the same ability as lava fruit? Sakaski's ability is a volcano, and he is a piece of volcanic rock. It's because his physical and mental health are not as good as Sakaski's. This basic thing is difficult to improve, but it is also very easy for him to enhance. Chapter 2. Munchdorag. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Augustus, are you okay? In the room, a boy with a gloomy face was sitting at a table reading a newspaper. Munchdorag. This future leader of the Revolutionary Army is known by the world government as the most dangerous man in the world. Now he is just a somewhat gloomy naval trainee. My father is a naval hero, Lieutenant General Cap. I am also a natural storm fruit expert. In this elite naval training camp, Dolag ranks among the top 3 in terms of strength and status. Dorag, who is roommate with Augustus, does not reject Zhang Yang like other navies do. Of course, there are usually no intersections. Zhang Yang glanced at the newspaper in Dolag's hand. The headline news in the newspaper is that the Tianlong people were playing in a certain country, and a minister of a certain country offended the Tianlong people with one sentence and has been executed. Augustus, why do you think there is such a thing as the heavenly dragon man in this world? Noticing Augustus' gaze, Dorag spoke in a low tone. We have the same appearance and body, why are some people born noble enough to trample on others' lives recklessly? Just because of a dispensable word, the whole family will be executed. Dorag's eyes were confused, his beliefs wavered, and his future was dark. Does his future have to serve such a force? Zhang Yang gave him a strange glance. Is the future leader of the Revolutionary Army already thinking about this issue at this time? Because this world is destined to be unequal. They have privileges, so they will use their own rights to bully others. If you don't want this kind of thing to happen, then you can only create a world without privileges. Dorag looked at Zhang Yang with a shocked expression on his face. It seemed completely unexpected that such words would be heard from his mouth. He would ask for opinions from Zhang Yang purely because of his inner confusion and desire to find someone to listen and speak. As a result, Zhang Yang directly threw a sentence to overthrow World Z Prefecture. You should know that the authority of the World Z government is supreme in the hearts of all civilians. Just like the impression of the emperor by the common people in ancient China. Although his face was filled with shock, for some reason, an indescribable excitement rose deep within Dorag's heart. This kind of words resonated with his heart. In the depths of his lost heart, there seemed to be a beam of dawn illuminating his heart. No privilege, everyone is equal. So Augustus, you also have the same ideals as me. Open the corners of your mouth and tug. Watching his face full of excitement, it seemed like he had found Dorag, a revolutionary comrade. Did I say something? This guy is so excited that he seems to be going crazy. Dolag, who has always been questioned by his heart, seems to have found a feeling of being recognized. Sure enough, there are still people who can understand him. He is not fighting alone, there will definitely be people around the world who are oppressed by the Tianlong people who want to resist. They just don't have the ability and strength. Augustus, join me in overthrowing this corrupt world. Dorag spoke seriously and looked at Zhang Yang with a serious expression on his face. Fuck me. Why did the topic suddenly shift here? Are you kidding about overthrowing the world government? Zhang Yang felt a bit speechless in his heart. Now is not the tumultuous world decades later. Roger the Pirate King has not yet begun the era of the great pirates. The authority of the world's Z government is still there, and no one dares to challenge this behemoth. If you become a revolutionary army now, wouldn't that be seeking death? Seeing Zhang Yang not speaking, Dorag felt that he was tacitly accepting. Excitedly, he began to explore. What do you think our organization should be called? Revolutionary Army. Proud and subconsciously blurting out. Revolutionary Army. Dorag paused slightly, carefully pondering the meaning of the word. Revolutionary Army, revolution, whose life is it? Of course, it's the world's capital. Good name, so you've already thought of this. Dorag looked at Zhang Yang with a shocked expression on his face, and the name was clearly not what he had just remembered. Obviously, it was premeditated. I didn't expect you, a simple and honest guy, to have such ambition deep down in your heart. He usually looks like a salted fish who doesn't want to turn over, and even the person he spends his days with has never doubted him. This kind of acting and disguise ability. It's simply a deep scheming. He even suspected that Zhang Yang's strength was countless times more terrifying than what he had shown. Put on a timid appearance, it may be ambition, or it may be for some undisclosed secret. But Dorag doesn't care. As long as they have the same ideals as him, then they are unwavering comrades in arms. Did this guy catch up on something again? Watching Dolag with a shocked expression and a peerless and gloomy expression, his forehead bulging with a few veins. Then the two of us will be the leaders of the revolutionary army. Although we only have 2 people now, there will definitely be more like-minded partners joining us in the future. Dorag muttered to himself, his face full of excitement as he began to conceive the outline of the future development of the revolutionary army. Am I now the leader of the revolutionary army? Are you too casual? I had no idea that it had been replaced by a schemer's publicity by Dorag's brain, and my heart was slightly speechless. If it weren't for knowing the plot. Zhang Yang believes that this casual organization will be caught and destroyed by the world government in the next second. Opening his mouth, Zhang Yang still didn't say a word of rejection. He was afraid that if he refused, this guy would give him a poisoned milk to silence him. As the leader of the revolutionary army who will leverage the foundation of the world's Z government in the future, Dorag cannot let anyone who knows his secret live as long as he is not a fool. If his dangerous thinking is known to others, even if his father is a naval marshal, it is useless. The world government absolutely does not allow a man with such thoughts to live, let alone a natural demon fruit-capable individual. The threat is greater than that of ordinary people. After a while, feeling excited, Dorag handed Zhang Yang this written note. At first glance, Zhang Yang's face stiffened slightly. This schedule is like a joke. The first point is to gather powerful countries to resist the world government together. Not to mention anything else, powerful countries have already joined the world government, and they are already the owners and beneficiaries of power. Overthrow oneself and accumulate a reputation of over 100 years. To achieve equality for all. What do you think about wooing them? He's really a talent. In order not to be fooled to death, Zhang Yang felt that he should say something. Although I don't understand. But there are too many cases in his mind. The 50-100-year history of China can be summarized as a story of rebellion and power replacement. When it comes to rebelling and being a troublemaker, who has more experience than us descendants of China? It's like building high walls to accumulate grain and slowly proclaim oneself king, changing places with one shot, or combining vertical and horizontal forces to besiege Wei and save Zhao. Although I don't understand, Zhang Yang can tell stories. Dorag's eyes sparkled as he listened, and his bold gaze was even more astonishing. What is strategic planning? The decisive victory lies thousands of miles away. I didn't understand before, but now he understands. So this is the strategist. Is this the feeling of intelligence being crushed? Sure enough, it's you, old Bai. Zhang Yanko said his mouth water was dry, and then he realized that Dolag, who looked at him with admiration on his face. Do you understand now? Dorag closed his notes and raised his hand like a primary school student. So now we need to gather talents, silently accumulate strength, and then look for opportunities to overthrow the world government. But how long will it take to wait? I won't wait too long. Zhang Yang looked out the window. Some people can no longer tolerate the atrocities committed by the world government. The wind and rain are coming. No. Waiting for the world's Z mansion will be a disaster of earth shaking and mountains shaking. Dorag's face was full of doubt, but Zhang Yang remained silent. It's not that I don't want to say it, I just don't know how to say it. Do you want me to say that in a few years, a man named Roger will usher in a new era? Chapter 3. Phantom. Red Teeth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Inexplicably became the leader of the revolutionary army. The exaggerated mood is slightly complicated. If he's caught and related to Dorag, then he's not finished yet. Dorag's father is a naval hero, and even if caught, he may not necessarily die. He is different. Once caught, the best outcome would be to be sent to the city of advancement. Be a death row inmate for a lifetime. He must become stronger, at least possess the strength of a great general, in order to have the ability to resist the world government. As for overthrowing the world government, don't think about it for now. The future 4 emperors together are quite similar. Don't think the world government is too weak, it can stand in this world for hundreds of years. If there is not enough power to suppress the entire world. Due to the urinary habits of those Tianlong people, the world government has long been eradicated 800 times. 5 old stars, navy, army, and CP troops. Anyone has the ability to fight against a 4th emperor alone. It's hard to say who will win or lose, but at least they have the capital to fight. Not to mention the mysterious Lord IMM above the 5 old stars. We need to become stronger quickly. Zhang Yang prepared a load of several tens of kilograms for himself. The simplest way to improve one's physique is to squeeze their physical strength, carry out weight training, and quickly increase their endurance. After tying a weight of 30 kilograms onto the body, it feels difficult to make any movement. It took half a day to show off and barely adapt to this pressure. Start tentatively accelerating your pace. The speed of physical exertion is a bit fast, after all, it is such a heavy load from the beginning. Half an hour later, my whole body was soaked in sweat, and I felt like a dog. I felt like my physical strength had reached its limit. Zhang Yang, who was already prepared, took out the cage that was already prepared. Having unlimited physical fitness and becoming stronger is not an easy task. Zhang Yang took out a bound wild beast from the cage. Try the ability of Devil Fruit. When using the ability to transform fruits, imagine the appearance and strength of the transformed person in your mind. A man with green hair and blood-red eyes appeared in his bold mind. Assassin Wu Liuqi World, Red Fang among the 7 top shadow assassins. Proficient in the blood demon technique, able to absorb the power of the opponent's blood to restore physical strength. The image of red teeth faintly appearing in my mind is becoming more and more plump and realistic. Zhang Yang felt a strange force emerging in his body, which belonged to the power of Qia. Although it has less than 10% power. Pushi. The open mouth exaggeratedly cracked open, and the red teeth fiercely bit the neck of the beast. Sweet and fishy blood burst out in the mouth. The enormous vitality contained in the blood rushes into the body, and the exhausted body regains its vitality. Moreover, he absorbed the vitality from the blood of the wild beast, and his physique seemed to have been slightly enhanced. Continue. The sun is setting in the west. After a day of training, Zhang Yang felt that his physical fitness had doubled. The training effect only accounts for less than 1 layer, and the remaining 9 layers are all fed back by the blood demon technique. Although only a small portion of the strength can be retained each time blood is absorbed, the effect is very obvious as little accumulates. I am already very satisfied with this kind of efficiency promotion. As long as there is enough time, it will be a matter of time before he can catch up with Sakazuki. Not continuing is because his body has reached the limit of strength enhancement. It takes some time to adapt. Continue tomorrow. The next day, Zhang Yang still wore his heavy body for cultivation. It's much easier. The improvement of physical fitness has greatly reduced the difficulty of training with a weight of 20.30 kilograms. At the end of the day, Zhang Yang felt that his strength had improved significantly. Although it's not as exaggerated as doubling it directly for the first time. But at least around 70.8%. The stronger the strength, the slower the improvement speed. It is not difficult to understand, after all, the stronger his strength, the less vitality the same beast's blood contains for him. Time flies by quickly, half a month has already passed in the blink of an eye. After 2 weeks of high-intensity cultivation, Zhang Yang has been able to stand under a waterfall and practice wielding swords with a load of 300 kilograms as if he had nothing to do. Even carrying these burdens in daily life doesn't feel much weight. The reason why he didn't change to a heavier load was because the one he was wearing was already the heaviest load in the inventory of the naval training base. If the burden continues to increase, it will affect his agility during combat and training. The blood of ordinary beasts has little effect on me anymore. Throw away a giant saber-toothed tiger that has just been caught. This behemoth, with a body size of over 7 meters, is one of the dominant figures in the deep forests surrounding this training base. Most of the elite navies in the training camp have to take a detour when encountering this guy. The 7-meter-tall physique and weight are not a joke. Although the movements are a bit clumsy, this guy's strength needs to be calculated in tons. If you hit it, even an ordinary navy will be disabled. He met this guy 3 days ago while practicing in the forest, and when he first met him, he arrogantly planned to take a bite of him. After being beaten up by him, he became much more honest. After being locked up and bleeding for 3 days, Zhang Yang was too lazy to kill him. After all, it's not easy to grow up like this. The jungle hegemon, whose leg was broken, limped into the forest with his tail between his legs. This human is simply a beast. After grabbing him and releasing his blood for 3 days, the saber-toothed tiger felt its body hollowed out. The humans outside are really scary, he never wants to come out again. If I want to cultivate next, the blood of ordinary beasts can no longer satisfy me. Zhang Yang clenched his fist, and his current physique, even without using the power of the devil fruit, could weigh nearly tens of thousands of kilograms with any punch. In the entire elite training camp, if one dares to say that they are stronger than him, there are probably only 3 natural demon fruit abilities: Sakaski, Dorag, and Polyusolino. The Dao strength value of an ordinary naval soldier is 10 points, while the Dao strength of an elite navy is usually between 20 and 50 points. The most basic requirement for entering an elite training camp is to have a Taoist strength value exceeding 500. That is 50 times the combat power of ordinary naval soldiers. So every person in the elite training camp is a genuine naval elite. Just pick one randomly, whether it is enough to serve as a school-level officer in the headquarters, or more than enough to serve as a colonel-level base commander in the 4 Seas Division. Within the entire elite training camp, less than 1,000 people participated in the training, and most of their Daoist values hovered between 500 and 1,000. There will be no more than 100 people with a Taoist power value of over 1,000. As for the 2,000, I'm afraid there aren't even 20. The Dao power values of 3 natural demon fruit abilities are all above 4,000. As for himself, Zhang Yang estimated that it should have exceeded 3,000 and stuck at around 3,500. There is still a considerable gap between the 3 natural demon fruit abilities, but they are already very close. After all, daily value does not represent everything. It's like Dorag's mana value is 4,300, but in reality, if he really fights a navy with the same mana value. Unless another person is also a natural demon fruit ability, the winner can be determined within a few minutes. The detection of daily value is only pure physical strength. As for the additional abilities such as domineering, 6 moves, and demon fruit, they were not included in the calculation. Sakaski's punch power is 4,300 dojo. After using the devil fruit, the punch power remains unchanged, but there is a heat of thousands of degrees attached to the fist. Can it be the same? New book seeking collection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. _collect and give me some flowers. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4. Navy Type 6. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Analysis of the Navy's 6 cultivation methods. Zhang Yang is holding a somewhat shabby-looking book in his hand. According to Dolag, this records the cultivation and insights of his old man, as well as some ideas about the imperfect derivative techniques of the 6 forms. He dug it out from under the bed last night. Seeing Zhang Yang interested, I casually threw it to him. As for why he flipped under the bed when he was idle, Zhang Yang didn't bother to ask. That guy has been mysteriously tinkering with something these past few days. Sometimes I can't see anyone for half a day, sneak out at night while sleeping, and come back the next day with a dark circle under my eyes. Although there is no evidence, intuition tells Zhang Yang that this guy's busy schedule may be related to the Revolutionary Army. Probably trying to deceive someone again. Zhang Yang didn't ask much, but he gave all the opinions he could give. He doesn't have the ability to personally intervene in the affairs of the Revolutionary Army. Don't be fooled by the way he brags with Dorag, it actually makes him feel a bit practical. The ideas he mentioned were all jotted down while reading historical novels, and he couldn't understand them himself. With this ability, he was still a scumbag when he was in school. However, Dorag doesn't think so. A conversation half a month ago was like an epiphany, making him suddenly enlightened. He now completely regards publicity as a guiding light on the dark path of the Revolutionary Army. Relying on the advanced rebellious ideas and empirical evidence provided by Zhang Yang, Dorag skipped the exploratory stage and summarized a detailed and effective plan that could overthrow the world government in all aspects. Saved countless times. Of course, to truly implement this plan, it will require decades of planning and preparation. But this is not urgent, the most they have now is time. If you don't even have this patience, there's no talk of overthrowing the world government. Iron blocks, shavers, paper paintings, moon steps, lawn feet, gun fingers. And the return of life. Zhang Yangfan looked at the thin book of cultivation techniques in his hand. The Navy's Type 6 is a secret physical skill that can only be practiced by officers at the rank of naval officers and special CP departments within the world government. Due to the strict management of the 6 styles by world governments, they are rarely circulated outside. Dorag's father is a naval hero named Kapu, and he himself is a natural demon fruit expert. If nothing unexpected happens, in the future, it will at least be the top naval force, a great general-level powerhouse. Take a look at the cultivation methods of the 6 forms secret scripts in advance, who wouldn't hesitate to give any suggestions. In fact, most of the trainees in the naval training camp have roughly mastered the application of some of the 6 styles. However, not everyone has a good father like Dorag, who can learn the 6 styles in a more detailed and systematic way. Shaving, continuously tapping on the spot dozens of times, achieves rapid movement like teleportation through an instant burst of rebound force. The principle of the Navy's Type 6 is naturally not complicated as it can be popularized among officers at the rank of general. It can be said that as long as your physique is strong enough, you can easily master the 6 styles. Stepping on the spot more than 10 times in an instant can easily showcase your current superhuman physique. Zhang Yang only practiced his skills briefly and was able to quickly tap and strike 20 times, moving within a range of 10 meters. Don't forget, he is still wearing a weight of over 300 kilograms on his body. Next, all you need to do is practice continuously to make your body adapt proficiently, and the speed and distance of shaving will gradually increase. In the 6 styles of the Navy, the easiest to master are shaving, lawn jiao, moon step, and gun finger. The difficulty of drawing with iron blocks and paper is slightly higher, and the difficulty of returning life is the greatest. The reason why it is difficult is because mastering the return of life requires injecting consciousness into the body, organs, and hair, and perfectly controlling the cells of the whole body. Just by infusing consciousness into the body, 90% of the Navy who want to learn to return life can be stuck. Consciousness is an intangible substance, like a domineering force that can only be experienced firsthand. Teaching cannot be taught. Yes, I do, no, I don't. There are notes and cultivation insights from General Kapu in hand. Zhang Yang directly imagined the figure of General Kapu in his mind and personally experienced the feeling of using the 6 styles. Unfortunately, the development of fruit abilities is not enough, and we can only temporarily borrow strength. If we can develop fruit abilities at a deeper level, we may even be able to manifest our bodies, which would make the experience more intuitive. Zhang Yang sighed. He has only just begun to control the illusionary fruit, and can only imagine characters in his mind, borrowing some of his power. As for direct manifestation, transforming oneself into an opponent and controlling it together with blood and abilities, it requires him to have a deeper level of control over the devil fruit. The higher the degree of fruit development, the higher the degree of transformation, of course, it is still him. It's just that certain bodily features tend to move closer to the person they have transformed into. The specific amount of incarnation power that can be exerted depends on the upper limit of one's physical endurance. Although only a portion of Kapu's power has been transformed, it is sufficient to assist in learning the 6 styles. With the power of Karp, Zhang Yang's speed in learning the 6 styles has become extremely fast. It took 3 days to master the other 6 forms besides paper drawing, iron blocks, and life return, and 2 days to learn paper drawing and iron blocks. In the process of learning paper drawing and iron blocks, Zhang Yang learned the method of using consciousness to mobilize blood and body. Afterwards, it took less than a day to learn how to return life. The whole process is incredibly fast. Even geniuses like Dorag, who possess the qualifications of a great general, took over a month to master the 6 styles, and a full 3 months to master the return of life. To others it may be a genius, but to him it's just a younger brother. The next step is to continue strengthening your physique. The Navy in the elite training camp is a true elite selected from various naval bases, and does not need to be taught by mentors like those new recruits. Most of our daily cultivation is free range, and we practice according to our own preferences. But a simple test will be conducted every month. In another week, it will be the time for monthly strength testing. If he wants to make a splash, he must demonstrate his ability to shock everyone during testing. The Navy is a very realistic place, where the weak prey on the strong. Only with strong strength can one receive respect and everything they want. After graduation, the elite training camp will assign positions to each student. The better the performance in the training camp, the higher the final position assigned. If he can graduate with the top strength in the training camp, that means being at least a brigadier general of the Navy headquarters, and even potentially obtaining the rank of Rear Admiral of the Navy headquarters. Just need to go further to become the true high level of the Navy. Once you become a Major General in the Navy headquarters, you already have the ability to influence the future of the Navy. He has the right to listen and vote against or in favor of all decisions that can affect the future of the Navy. For example, Kawei. Although his current strength can rank among the top 5 in naval training camps. However, it is far from enough to defeat Sikorsky and become the current CEOs with an absolute advantage. There is no natural demon fruit ability that is easy to deal with. Everyone placed at the headquarters of the Navy can be called a monster. To defeat these monsters, one can only become more terrifying than them. He has already boarded the pirate ship of the Revolutionary Army, and his future enemy will be the entire world government. So he wants to become stronger than anyone else. The blood of ordinary beasts cannot make me stronger. You can try capturing some Sea King beasts. How much more life force can those behemoths, who are hundreds of meters tall, contain in their bodies than ordinary beasts? Can you give me some flower tickets, big ones angle, _Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. Gravity Cultivation. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. It's time to change the load. His current physique can easily lift tens of thousands of pounds. Carrying a load of 300 kilograms with you every day, you don't feel any pressure at all. Zhang Yang pondered on what methods could bring greater pressure without affecting his flexibility. It's too cumbersome, definitely not enough. Otherwise, it will affect his agility in battle. But it doesn't work if it's not replaced. It is human nature to enjoy leisure and dislike work. Excessive relaxation can unconsciously make the body lazy, while strong pressure can unleash even greater potential in the body's limits. Squeezing the potential of the body, combined with the blood demon technique to absorb the vitality of others, is more efficient than simply using the blood demon technique to absorb blood. I want to gain power beyond ordinary people. Firstly, one must suffer unbearable pain that ordinary people cannot bear. He is now powerful and has put in no less effort than anyone else. There are several people in this naval base like him, even lying in bed wearing a 300-kilogram load while sleeping. When sleeping at night, the shoulders and thighs are rubbed and bleeding from hard iron blocks. Speaking of pressure. Zhang Yang stroked his chin, his gaze revealing contemplation. Gravity should also be possible. If the strong gravity is evenly distributed throughout every corner and every cell of the body, the cultivation effect of uniform pressure should be better than simply wearing heavy clothing. Speaking of gravity. The first thing that Zhang Yang remembered was Teng Hu. A powerful general who excels in using gravity and can even drop meteorites from the sky. If gravity is superimposed on oneself, it is equivalent to constantly resisting the surrounding world. Zhang Yang began to recall the appearance of Teng Hu in his mind. The fruit of illusion transforms a person without needing their true appearance. The illusion in illusion refers to a fantasy with roots, rather than a fantasy that arises out of thin air. At least there needs to be some basis. It is impossible to casually think of a deity who created everything, without knowing its ability and name. How did it change? Turn your head around. If there is the appearance and detailed information of the person being transformed, the difficulty of transformation will be reduced. If everything about the illusionist is blank and only heard of by chance, the difficulty of the illusionist will double. If this person who has been transformed does not exist at all, it is impossible for them to be transformed. This existence can be present or future. The appearance of Teng Hu in my mind gradually became clear. He looks unremarkable, dressed in a sloppy and rustic manner, staring at his eyes with a cute and humble demeanor. There is a slight difference from what I remember. It's not surprising, after all, one is seen from the anime, and the other is a real person. There will be differences in details, and the power of the devil fruit will autonomously correct this gap. The power of the demon fruit, which is the origin level of the law, is sometimes even more mysterious than imagined. However, there are also many limitations to this power. Will be restrained and afraid of seawater. Is this the power of gravity fruit? Zhang Yangshu squinted his eyes. There is a strange force in his body that is affecting him. He seems to influence and even distort the fundamental laws of the surrounding area through this power of free control. It is said to be a fruit of gravity, but it seems to be mixed with some forces controlled by gravity and repulsion. Compared to the name gravity fruit, perhaps it should be called force field fruit more. Pick up a stone from the ground. Buckle between the index finger and thumb. Gravity plus a little repulsion. Boom. The stone shattered the air and tore a pale mark. The terrifying sonic boom sounded like a thunderbolt exploding in one's ear, making Zhang Yang's ears slightly deaf. Wow! The flying stones skimmed over the sea, and the sea parted on both sides, revealing a groove that was 5 or 6 meters wide. Keep spreading forward. A few hundred meters away, a reef standing on the sea exploded with a loud explosion. Terrifying. Zhang Yang secretly exclaimed, the strength of this blow is at least 4,000 or above. The combination of infinitely magnified gravity and repulsion is simply unsolvable. First, try doubling the gravity. Gravity is different from weight-bearing, and the distortion of gravity is the fundamental law of confrontation between the body and the world. From the inside out, including the internal organs, it will be strongly compressed. Compared to pure weight-bearing, the effect is more perfect, but it is also more dangerous. A person who is not careful may compress their internal organs to the point of bursting. With a sudden thought, gravity is added. Zhang Yang felt like he was burdened with a weight of several thousand pounds, and the ubiquitous gravity squeezed his body from all directions. The visceral moment carried terrifying pressure. It's okay. The bold breathing was a bit heavy, and the feeling of gravity deepening was even more terrifying than imagined. Just double the weight added to him, the pressure it brings is equivalent to carrying a weight of thousands of pounds. Next is 5 times. The change in gravity caused distortion in the surrounding space, causing Zhang Yang to stumble and the ground beneath his feet to begin to crumble. 5 times the gravitational force superimposes on each other, and the pulling force from the world comes from all directions. The final effect is no less than directly carrying a load of tens of thousands of pounds. Difficulty breathing and blackening of both eyes. This feeling is like the first time he wears a heavy load. It's difficult to move even with a single flick. This level. Just right. Zhang Yang struggled to stand up, feeling his internal organs groaning uncontrollably under the strong pressure of gravity. A bloody smell rose from his throat, and his organs and body were operating in an overloaded state under the pressure of gravity. The pressure of gravity causes enormous damage to the body. But if the body can't bear it, then that's right. Only by approaching death can one truly appreciate the essence of life. His goal is to reach the limits of his body in order to grow within them. Next, all you need to do is obtain the blood of the Sea King and gradually adapt to the pressure on your body. This is quite simple. There are thousands of elite navies participating in the elite training camp. Their appetite is 2 to 5 times that of a normal person. The amount of meat consumed during meals every day is an astronomical number. Relying on external transportation to maintain supplies would consume too much manpower. The Navy headquarters will not allow such extravagant and wasteful activities to occur, so there are teams dedicated to capturing Sea Kings in elite training camps. Not to mention a little Sea King blood, even if he drags away a giant Sea King, no one will say anything. After all, the Sea King captured in the camp cannot be eaten up every day. There is too much surplus. Zhang Yang arrived at a waterfall and began his daily physical exercise. In his hand, he tentatively transformed into Tenghu's cane and sword. The realization of physical objects is a more advanced application of transformed fruits, which requires deeper development of the potential of transformed fruits to achieve. Anyway, I'm still idle now, so I can cultivate and develop the power of devil fruit at the same time. By the way, you can also cultivate your domineering aura. As a future naval general, Tenghu possesses extremely high levels of armed and visible color dominance. Although it is not possible to directly share Tenghu's insights and experiences on dominance. But by regularly using dominance, one may be able to awaken their own dominance in advance by analogy. This kind of opportunity to use dominance in advance is not something that everyone can have. Accustomed to domineering use. It will undoubtedly be easier to awaken one's dominance. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 6. The Awakening of Overlord Colors. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Augustus, why did you come so late? Hundreds of people gathered on the square, and talents gradually walked over. Watching the late Zhang Yang, Dorag's tone was somewhat puzzled. This guy, even if he's usually busy, why is he still like this today? I don't know if today is the time for the daily inspection. I was delayed by something, but it hasn't started yet. Zhang Yang shook his head and looked at General Zifa standing in the center of the square, holding his chest in both hands. This provocative purple suit is indeed quite eye-catching. It's like standing out among chickens. What about you? You've been so busy these days that you can't see anyone. What are you really busy with? Zhang Yang looked at Dolag, who was the real busy person compared to him. I haven't seen anyone for half a month, and I don't know what I'm busy with. Although the control of the elite training camp is very free and lax, leaving the camp without permission, if caught, will inevitably result in imprisonment. This guy is also bold and fat-hearted. I have found several like-minded comrades like you. Darago lowered his voice, his tone somewhat relieved. He recently saw several fugitives from the country who were wanted for offending the Tianlong people in the newspaper. So I tentatively made contact with them, and after a few days of conversation, these people have become part of the revolutionary army, replacing him in secretly developing power. Although there were only a few people and their abilities varied, it was a good start for him. This also strengthened Dorag's inner thoughts. Indeed, there are still many people in this world who, like him, cannot tolerate the atrocities committed by the Tianlong people of the world government. They are not numb, just because they lack the strength to resist, to fight, that's why they endure humiliation and live illegally. The world government controls the most powerful armed forces in the world, and even if a country wants to resist, it will quickly become flat. The demon-slaying order is a powerful tool used by the world government to deter those who are restless. Once there is a desire to resist, it will be surrounded and annihilated by naval headquarters generals. So those people who are oppressed by the world government can only force themselves to smile and live a miserable life in the dark corners. They did not forget the pain and hatred. Just waiting for an opportunity to overthrow the world government. As long as this opportunity arises, even if it is very slim, countless people will follow and strive for it. Looking at the strong confidence and indescribable sense of mission on Dorag's face, Zhang Yang was slightly taken aback. A complex and indescribable smile appeared on his face. No wonder this kind of aura will become a man that governments around the world consider a major enemy in the future. Dorag, you will definitely succeed. Augustus, it's not me, it's all of us who will succeed. Dorag corrected. Every oppressed person, every person who dreams of overthrowing the tyranny and slavery of the world government, will be a part of them in the future. They are not the first, and certainly not the last. The flame of revolution has already been ignited, like a beam of dawn in the darkness, it is impossible to extinguish it. They are pioneers, guides, and creators of a belief. Even if they fail, there will still be successors to inherit their legacy, and their will never be extinguished. Continue this ideal indefinitely until one day, overthrow the behemoth of the world government. Inheritance never dies, freedom never yields, this will is more precious than anything else. Dorag believes so and firmly tells himself. The firm confidence seemed to be touched by some kind of force, an indescribable force that had been brewing for a long time, erupting and spreading out of Dorag's body. The bustling square was silent. Everyone's gaze turned towards the rear. That domineering and majestic will, like a lamp in the dark, dispels everything. The oppression from the level of spiritual will makes people feel like they are facing the tide of history, unable to resist or resist. In an instant, more than half of the Navy's elite fell to the ground with pale eyes. This kind of oppression from the level of spiritual will has nothing to do with strength, only people with strong willpower can barely stand under this impact. Under the tyranny, the weak retreat. The brain feels like it's been hit hard. His flamboyant mind was blank, with a constant stream of spiritual pressure pounding his brain. In a hazy moment, Zhang Yang felt his body fall backwards. Am I still just a weak person in my heart? In front of the flamboyant eyes, a dirty and messy room was reflected, with a computer desk placed in the narrow room. In front of the table, a disheveled man is holding a bucket of instant noodles and eating it with relish. This is him from the past. A flash of memory flashed through Zhang Yang's eyes. Originally, deep down in my heart, I have always been longing for a peaceful life. I treat all of this as a dream that won't wake up. His efforts, his hard work, including his hard work. In fact, it is all an escape, using pain and torture to numb one's brain, forget the fear in the heart, and not let oneself think of it. He regarded this place as a dream, constantly avoiding and refusing to accept this reality. He has always been afraid that he will die in this chaotic world. How can a person who dares not even face reality withstand the impact of dominance? Proud and bitter smile, staring blankly at the sky with confused thoughts. He saw a surprised Dorag reaching out to him, trying to grab him. He saw the surprised and disappointed gaze of General Zifa in the distance. He saw the naval elites who had fallen to the ground and lost their senses one by one, all like him, they were failures. Even with strong strength, it cannot change the cowardice in their hearts. Do I also want to be like these people? The corners of his mouth slightly raised, and a hint of mockery flashed in his eyes. Yes, death is terrible. But compared to death, I hate kneeling down for others even more. In an instant, an infinite force surged out of the body that was leaning backwards, and the spine was as straight as a steel gun. The irresistible sharpness seemed to pierce through the sky. A restless force erupted within the body, carrying a terrifying aura of dominating the world. There is no majestic shore like Dolag, which is constantly flowing and inheritable in the face of the tide of history. Not to mention the kind of tolerance that embraces all rivers and is free and indomitable. But it has added a rebellious and domineering way of life and death. Puff. Puff. The air has a momentary solidification. The domineering momentum is like a rampaging wild beast, with ripples rising in the air. The visible red and black aura shattered the defense line in my heart like destruction. Hundreds of naval elites still barely standing in place were in a daze, their knees trembling, and they couldn't help but kneel on the ground, their shoulders weakly shrugging and pulling, and they fainted directly. The appearance of an emperor is not to be looked directly at. Kneel down. A group of elite naval officers knelt on the ground in a spectacular manner. In the blink of an eye, there were less than 100 people still struggling to hold on throughout the entire square. Enduring the spiritual impact of two dominant colors intertwined with each other. There are countless people in this world who can make me fall. The smile on Zhang Yang's face gradually became unrestrained, with a hint of coldness in his eyes. But no one can make me submit. No one can do it. Kneeling for a lifetime, since he stands up, no one can still make him kneel. Angle, thank you for the reward Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 7. This era will be named after me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The domineering aura of a domineering color. It's really scary. Legend has it that 2 out of 1,000,000 qualifications appeared at the same time. Polyasolino smacked his lips. Sakaski, who was holding his chest in both hands, couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. His eyes were calm, completely ignoring the sudden outburst of their domineering aura. There is no royal qualification among millions, and the domineering aura of a domineering color can only deter the weak. It has no effect on someone as strong as him. This kind of fancy thing, Sakaski looked down on him. The domineering aura of 2 people covering half of the island lasted for nearly a minute before slowly dissipating. The domineering color is the most unique among the 3-color domineering. At the same time, it is also the one with the least number of awakened people among the 3 colors of dominance. Only 1 in 1,000,000 people may awaken their domineering and domineering nature. Moreover, the domineering color is not as powerful as the seen and armed color, which can be honed and grown. The dominant and domineering way of growth is determined by a person's life experience, morale, and willpower. And boldness is the most indispensable thing. He doesn't even consider the world government, what else can make him afraid? The quality of this group of students is even worse than expected. Zifa looked at the corpses all over the ground and was very dissatisfied. Can't even withstand the impact of the domineering and domineering aura, is the current level of naval elite. What a fall. However, it must be admitted that the domineering aura of Dorag and Zhang Yang was indeed so strong that he also felt shocked. This level of dominance is already enough to have an impact on the strong at the rank of lieutenant general. Zifa glanced at the square, where less than 100 students were still standing. Being able to withstand such a level of dominance, these students may not have the same qualifications as geniuses with great general-level potential like Augustus and Dorag. But it is more than enough to become the backbone of the Navy headquarters in the future. These people will have at least 50 or more major generals and 10 or more major generals in the next 20 years. As for the combat power at the level of a general, there are probably only 4. 3 natural demon fruit abilities. If nothing unexpected happens, the position of Grand General has been reserved. As for Augustus, Zifa was originally not optimistic about this student. But now, he's a bit confused about this student. Will a person who can awaken the domineering color and aura, and has the qualification of a king, be a waste waiting to die for nothing? Due to yesterday's incident, the strength test was interrupted and can only be postponed to the next day. Sure enough, people with strength will be respected no matter where they are. Zhang Yang arrived at the square early in the morning. I keenly felt a sense of awe in the eyes of the surrounding navy looking at him, with an unprecedented sense of vigilance. At the same location, when the time went back a day ago, these people still looked at him with disgust and repulsion in their eyes. It seems to completely isolate him outside the circle. And now, this barrier has quietly disappeared, and here, strength is everything. He has proven his strength. The bold footsteps paused slightly, looking at the figure blocking in front of them. You have finally taken on some form now. Sakaski hugged his chest with both hands and looked at Zhang Yang with a scrutinizing gaze. The tone of warning carries a condescending tone. But just relying on your domineering aura, how far can you go? You don't need to care about it, do you? Zhang Yang casually glanced at Sakaski, who didn't have much skill, but was quite lenient in his management. Ha! You seem very confident. Sakaski gave a cold smile and turned around before leaving. I'll be waiting to see your performance later, Augustus. No anger, not even taking this little episode to heart. Will giants get angry because of the clamor of ants? Taking the initiative to say hello is just a momentary interest. Sakaski. This guy, can we try to win him over? Dolag, who appeared at some point, looked at Sakaski's back with a tone that was eager to try. I dispelled this idea early on. Zhang Yang glanced at Duorag. His tone was no different from usual, but he was more calm and free-spirited, and less taboo and awe. After yesterday's incident, his mood has undergone a tremendous change. What revolutionary army leader, what protagonist general. In the same era, he must be the strongest of this era. Where is he weaker than others? Effort. Diligent. Vision. Natural talent. Or the devil fruit? No. Pick any one, he is the small group standing at the top of the pyramid. Why would he be weaker than others? What reason does he have to be weaker than others? What kind of fate's trajectory, the protagonist's halo, the big secret treasure, Raph drew, are all bullshit. He wants this era to be named after him. What kind of pirate king, what kind of 3 generals are all bullshit, stand aside from me. Even if everything is okay, it's okay. If I block his way, the protagonist will have to die for me. Dolag didn't feel any bold changes. He always regarded Zhang Yang as a guide on the revolutionary path from beginning to end. Zhang Yang's position in his eyes is equivalent to half a teacher. Even if he were given a harsh lecture, he wouldn't feel anything was wrong, and perhaps he would humbly accept the warm guidance of this revolutionary leader. However, he is quite concerned about making things public. Why not develop Sakaski? A genius at the level of a great general, a natural demon fruit ability holder who reserves the position of a future great general. If they can be brought into their camp, they will have combat power equivalent to 3 generals in the future. Even if we cannot overthrow the world government, we still have the capital to confront it. Sakaski is a thoroughly extremist, whose concept of absolute justice conflicts with our belief in overthrowing world governments. Zhang Yang squinted his eyes slightly and explained. Sakaski's personality is extremely extreme. He is like a dog, capable of biting any opponent from an opposing camp. He doesn't have his own bottom line and persistence like Tinghu and Qin Ji. His absolute justice is to classify anyone who threatens the world government as evil, and then completely erase it at any cost. From his standpoint, this is understandable, but this kind of person is too extreme. He is destined to be a good dog that bites people, but this dog already has a master. If you want to approach again, you will only be bitten by him and covered in blood. This guy's will and beliefs are too firm, so firm that it's impossible to walk with them. Even if the master of the world government betrays him, he will only be buried with this decaying behemoth. What he is loyal to is that the world government and navy are the justice in his heart, not someone else. A person with firm beliefs can die for their ideals, and this kind of person is terrifying, and Sakaski happens to be such a person. Dorag nodded clearly, and it seemed that Sakaski was indeed this kind of person. If there's a chance, kill him. A chill flashed in his eyes, and for them, keeping Sakaski was a disaster. The longer the delay, the greater the harm. If he can be wiped out, he must be eliminated as soon as possible, only in this way can his threat be minimized. However, although Sakaski doesn't work, Polyusolino can give it a try, but it can't be tried using ordinary methods. How should we try? Dorag's expression was puzzled. This guy has a slick personality and can scrutinize timing. If he tries to intimidate and lure others, he agreed to join the Revolutionary Army 1 second ago. But once it's safe, he can sell you the whole thing to the world government the next second. So if you want to pull him onto the ship, you need someone. Submit a petition. Zhang Yang glanced at the young but somewhat anxious Polyusolino. Don't look at this monkey's smiling and easy-to-talk appearance, it's actually the most difficult to deal with. If you want to catch this sneaky and slippery guy who likes to fish on a pirate ship, you need a petition that will keep him from turning back in his lifetime and can only follow the Revolutionary Army all the way to the underworld. For those who have flower recommendation tickets, please give them a big gift. They are available every day, and if you don't give them away, please don't give them away _ if you have more flowers, your mood will be better. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. Daily testing. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Under the sun, Polyusolino, who was basking in the sun and spitting bubbles, suddenly felt a surge of excitement all over his body. In the hot weather of over 30 degrees Celsius, I inexplicably felt a chill. He looked around with suspicion, his gaze fixed on Zhang Yang and Dorag standing together in the crowd. Watching two unfamiliar guys show warm and kind smiles at him, Polyusolino felt a bit confused. Is he familiar with these two guys? With a slightly lewd smile, it should have been an illusion just now. Polyusolino moved to a different place to continue fishing. What kind of test is this big sun testing? This General Zifa is really quite boring. Normally, he should be lying on the chair to sleep at this time. Excuse me. Collect all, divide into 10 teams according to the queue, and accept testing. A low voice echoed in the square, and General Zifa, dressed in a sultry purple suit, appeared next to Polyusolino at some point. Bang! Glancing expressionlessly at Polyusolino, who was lazily sleeping. Lazy and scattered, without any naval appearance. Covering himself with a domineering kick, he kicked directly over. Puff. Kicked empty. It's really scary. Teacher Zifa still has such a hot temper. The golden particles of light condensed into a human shape in the distance, and Polyusolino, wearing sunglasses, spoke lazily and slowly. Start testing. Zifa snorted coldly. How could he find this guy unpleasant? What he hates the most in the entire elite training camp is this lazy guy. He was filled with anger when he thought about the future admiral's character. Poseidon didn't dare to go too far. If he really provoked this old man, it was still him who was unlucky. In terms of strength, he is really not a match for veteran naval generals like Zephyr. Although the natural demon fruit is powerful, it cannot represent everything. Navy hero Lieutenant General Cap, who dares to underestimate a pair of iron fists alone, as he has never tasted any demonic fruits. The Sea Hegemon Close pirate group is not a big deal. What about now? It's gone. I had this old man dismantle it 10 years ago. Don't worry about your flashy things, what natural, superhuman, and animal series. It's just a word in the hands of that old man. Death to labor and capital. Within 10 years, Close can be defeated, and Kapu, who is in his prime, has almost reached the pinnacle of his life in strength. Before his strength declined, no one within the entire navy was stronger than him. As a friend of Cap in the same era, General Zephyr's strength can also be considered terrifying. Nearly 1,000 people lined up in 10 rows, standing in front of 10 instruments used to measure the Daoist force. These instruments all have an exquisite electronic watch. During testing, the tester needs to exert full body force to strike the instrument, and the instrument will determine the person's strength based on internal tremors. Of course, Daoli is for reference only and corresponds only to physical strength, not strength. This kind of thing is not accurate for those with demon fruit abilities. It's like being someone with 400 points of strength. A person who has taken an animal-type demon fruit can unleash double the power with just one punch. And another one who took the natural demon fruit may not have a significant increase in strength. But if we really want to fight, even 10 ordinary animal-type demon fruit abilities cannot defeat one natural-type demon fruit ability. So this thing is purely for judging physical strength, and has no other uses. However, the strength of one's physique does to some extent determine a person's strength. The stronger the physique, the stronger the power to withstand the fruit of demons. Boom. 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 Daoli 800, next one. Daoli 1200, next one. Dorag, Daoli 4400. The power of Dorag has become stronger again, whispers came from behind, and a pair of respectful eyes looked at Dorag. Without using the ability of Devil Fruit, using pure six forms body techniques to unleash this level of Taoist power, Dorag's strength is simply terrifying. Undoubtedly, he is the son of General Kapu. Sakaski, Daoli 4350. Polysolino, Daoli 4300. The navy staring at the instrument was clearly new, and the sound of the numbers on the instrument trembled. I even suspect that the Daoli detection device is broken. Otherwise, how could 3 monsters with Taoist power exceeding 4,000 appear consecutively? Next. Zhang Yang walked out of the queue and looked at the navy beside the instrument in a daze, waving his hand. You, take a few steps back. The navy didn't know why, but they still wisely took a few steps back. He couldn't offend anyone who picked out one here. Then he looked at Zhang Yang with a puzzled expression on his face. Is that enough? Almost done. Zhang Yang nodded and moved his wrist, then gradually took off the weight on his body. A load of 300 kilograms fell to the ground. The ground paved with bluestone collapsed directly into a piece. Hiss. A neat sound of gasping for breath sounded. The naval elite standing behind Zhang Yang had a ghostly expression on their faces. Is this guy a monster? Surprisingly carrying such a heavy thing on his body. A load of 300 kilograms can be lifted by anyone, but being able to lift it and carrying it with you at all times is completely different. It's like a person who can lift 100 pounds. But may he carry 100 pounds of things on his body every day? Not to mention 100 kilograms, even a 10-kilogram object can feel laborious. Put on an airs. Sakaski snorted coldly, and a hint of mockery flashed in his eyes. A load of 300 kilograms is of no use to people of their strength. Just carrying this kind of thing has barely made me look like this. The evaluation of Zhang Yang in my heart has once again declined by a certain level. Augustus, domineering, that's all. It's really much easier now. Zhang Yang let out a soft breath, feeling indescribably relaxed all over. A load of 300 kilograms under gravity brings him no less pressure than carrying a small mountain every day. However, this painful effort is worth it. Absorbed a large amount of strong vitality contained in the blood of sea kings, coupled with the constant damage of gravity to the body. He never even eliminates the gravity on his body while sleeping. In just a few days, I wandered on the edge of life and death countless times. His body, under the constant pressure of squeezing potential and the pressure of life and death, constantly breaks through its limits. Breaking the shackles of the body time and time again. If it were someone else, they would have died long ago. But it was under this torment that he persisted for a full 7 days. Every day, his strength grows exponentially. The gravity he can withstand has also increased from 5 times the initial gravity to 20 times the current gravity. How strong is he now? Even he himself doesn't know. But in pure physical and mental competition, he is confident that he will not lose to anyone present except for General Zifa. Relieve gravity restrictions. The accumulated gravity on the body is instantly lifted. Zhang Yang took a deep breath, and the surrounding air flowed back, instantly emptying a portion. The heart beats violently, and there is a tearing pain in the lungs. The air flows through the body through the blood, and the muscles on the body expand as if filled with air. A layer of blood flames ignited from the body. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 9. Derived Techniques of 6 Forms. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 6 Style Derivative Technique. Dominating Body. The 6 forms mysteries created by combining the principles of iron blocks and the return to life. The principle of iron blocks is to tighten the muscles throughout the body and control blood flow to make the body as hard as iron, usually used for defense. When using iron blocks, the body needs to stand still and unable to move. The fusion of the returned life of the dominant body can accelerate blood flow, allowing the body to overload and unleash multiple times its own comprehensive strength. The faster the blood flow rate, the stronger the explosive force. Without the defect of being unable to move with iron blocks, the side effect is that if the body's internal organs are not strong enough, they may die on the spot. This is the 6 forms of mysteries created by Zhang Yang specifically for himself. The fusion of the breath of life and the blood generated by the combustion of blood, a thin layer of blood-colored flames condensed on Zhang Yang's body. Like flames burning. Dominant body. 1 speed. Boom. The ground beneath my feet is cracking. Punch forward. My arms trembled at lightning speed, waving a sky full of illusions. All the illusions will merge together in the next second. A huge fist shadow landed on the Daoli detection device. Overlord charge 12 combos. Integrating the 4 mysteries of spear finger, shaving, lanjiao, and life return, it quickly shakes the air with a fist, stacking 12 forces together to create a powerful shockwave. Click. The Daoli detection device made of special metal shows spider web-like cracks. The number on the instrument instantly jumps from 0 to 100020003000 in the blink of an eye. The number on the instrument had already exceeded 4,000, exceeded 6,000, and ultimately remained at the number 9,999. The machine, which was unable to bear the weight, was frozen for a few seconds before being shattered by the powerful and trembling fist shadow. Broken parts and fragments flew all over the sky. Monster. Surprisingly, it directly shattered the Daoli detection device. The crowd was in an uproar, and everyone had a ghostly expression. In the distance, Sakaski's pupils contracted. It's really scary. Poseidon swallowed his saliva, and no one knew better than him how hard the force detection device was. Even with the use of fruit ability, he may not be able to achieve more than 9,000 Dao points with a full strike. This monster was smashed with just one punch. Fruit ability. Or pure physical skills. General Zifa's expression was shocked. A punch shattered the power detection device, which would be too terrifying if it were purely physical. The power of this punch has almost touched the bottom line of the general level combat power. Even if it does not reach the rank of quasi-general, it is still the combat power of the rank of lieutenant general. In just 1 month, from being at the bottom of a training camp to having combat power comparable to that of a lieutenant general. The speed of progress is simply astonishing. The rapid progress cannot be described. Why is there such a big change? General Zifa looked at Zhang Yang's figure, first awakening his domineering aura, and now breaking the Taoist power detection device. What exactly did his student experience? Oh, is that so? Okay, I get it. Naval Headquarters, Marinfando. Click. Putting down the phone worm in his hand, he sat on top of the steel skeleton and gently rubbed his forehead. What's wrong? Cap, who was leaning on the chair drinking tea, glanced at Marshal Kong, feeling somewhat puzzled. Just now Zifa told me that among the first batch of students in the training camp, there was a boy who broke the Taoist strength detection device and needs to be replaced. Oh, is it Sakaski, Dorag, or Poseidon? The Warring States period on the side slightly propped up his body. Being able to break the power detection device, this level of power is estimated to have reached the bottom line of the general level combat power. Even those veteran generals may not be able to achieve it. When will there be such students in the elite training camp? It can't be Dorag, that kid wants to break the Daoli detection device, it's still a few years away. A wise son is like a father. Cap has a good understanding of Dorag's strength. Although I ate the natural demon fruit, strength is not something that can be achieved overnight. To become a true powerhouse, besides the accumulation of time, it also requires the tempering of blood and fire. Breaking through one's limits in each battle. It's the kid you sent in before. Steelbone shook its head in the air. To be honest, he was also surprised that a new recruit who had not been sent to the elite training camp for long could achieve such a rapid improvement in strength in such a short period of time. It's almost inexplicable. So it's that little ghost. Kapu suddenly realized. He still has some impression of Zhang Yang, that strange demon fruit ability, if developed to the extreme, must be a top-notch general-level powerhouse. He never expected that this kid would grow up so fast. First, he awakened the domineering aura of the domineering color with Dorag, and then shattered the Daoli detection device. In the entire training camp, it can be said that there is no difference in popularity, with a vague intention of winning the position of chief. I originally thought he was a bit weak in character and didn't have high expectations, but I didn't expect an unexpected surprise. The Warring States period said so. Augustus was accidentally excavated by him from the Navy headquarters. However, his impression of Augustus is not very optimistic. Has potential and qualifications, but has a somewhat cowardly mentality. Even if such people are lucky enough to become strong, they cannot achieve much. Without a mentality of looking down on the world, even with strength, one cannot suppress this vast world. But the current situation seems a bit embarrassing. A cowardly person cannot awaken their domineering aura and destroy the Taoist power detection device. The students of the first elite training camp should also start the second stage of cultivation soon, right? Steelbone Kong suddenly remembered something and asked. Just next month. The Warring States period nodded, he was still quite interested in this aspect. Not only because he is a major general of the Navy headquarters, but also because he is old friends with Zifa. Moreover, due to the lack of steel bones, he has been being trained recently, and there is a vague idea of training him as the successor to the future Navy Marshal. The Warring States period was not a fool, so it was natural to learn more about this aspect and put in some effort to facilitate taking over the position of marshal in the future. The first stage of elite training camp includes physical fitness and 6 forms. And the second stage of cultivation has already begun to formally engage with the complete 6 forms and dominance. We will probably select the best students from the training base and provide more detailed teaching in batches. Then throw it out for training, accumulate achievements, and gradually elevate the rank. This is also out of the idea of taking care of those old navies. After all, even if a superior doesn't speak up, they may still feel a bit uncomfortable in their heart. But if this boss has enough achievements and climbed up through formal channels, then no one can say anything. After all, the Navy is a realistic place that values strength. And after graduation, these people will be the backbone of the Navy suppression of the 4 seas in the next 20 years. We need to grow up quickly. The Warring States period sighed. The current Navy can be said to be the weakest period in nearly a century. After the retirement of the previous general, General Zifa retired, but General Cap refused to be promoted to general. Although the potential strength of the Navy is not inferior to any previous one, it still exceeds it. But on the surface, there is only 1 marshal and 1 general left at the top of the naval headquarters. The deterrent power over the 4 seas has greatly decreased. It is necessary to cultivate several successors of generals as soon as possible so that the Navy can continue to deter these restless guys. Otherwise, some ambitious individuals from all over the world will inevitably seize the opportunity to cause chaos. Although it won't cause much turbulence, it can also make people feel headache and trouble. Let Zifa accelerate the progress. There is no better way to deal with this steel frame void. After the closed pirates, several new forces are emerging on the Great Route. The recently prominent Whitebeard, ambitious Golden Lion, aloof rider, Bondi Ward. None of them are fuel-efficient lamps. The Navy has accumulated hundreds of years of remaining power and can still barely suppress the 4 seas. But for at most 10 years, if no one can take over the position of general, those restless ambitious individuals will feel that the Navy has declined. At that time, the emergence of turbulence was already imaginable. If we want to suppress it again, it will become very troublesome, and perhaps we will eventually seek help from the world government. If we can solve the problem without alarming the world government, that would be even better. Angle, the third one is here. Can you give it a floating 3K Qingming outing and happy reading? Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.